Ever get that feeling, when you're in Acumatica and you're trying to just make a really simple adjustment, and all of a sudden you're just like staring at this data corruption error?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there, right?
Mm.
And today we are going to kind of dissect one of these data corruption issues that can happen.
That's right.
In this case, version 23R2. So if you're on 23R2, you'll want to listen to this.
Yeah.
And it involves trying to edit a shipment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to dive into today.
Yeah, these issues can be just incredibly frustrating for consultants, especially when, what should be a straightforward change turns into, a big headache for everybody.
Right. And that's why we brought in an expert who has seen it all.
Yes.
Manisha Sharma.
She's awesome.
She's a functional consultant with years of experience under her belt, and she's currently an associate principal consultant at Tiana Solutions.
And she's tackled over 450 unique scenarios in Acumatica.
Wow.
From reports and business events to complex security issues. And her expertise spans various editions, including distribution manufacturing and inventory planning.
So she's definitely the person you want in your corner when you're facing a data conundrum.
Absolutely.
So in this case, Manisha was working with a customer who requested changes to an already confirmed sales order and shipment.
Okay.
So cancellation and a quantity adjustment.
Yeah, sounds simple enough, right? But as we often see in Acumatica, those seemingly minor tweaks can have a lot of unintended consequences.
Exactly. So when Manisha went to edit the shipment to reflect what the customer wanted, bam, data corruption error.
Oh.
And what's interesting is that the error message pointed to a discrepancy in the line numbers.
Okay.
Between the sales order and the shipment.
Interesting. And that's where a really deep understanding of Acumatica's data structure is just absolutely crucial.
Right.
Even the tiniest inconsistency can throw the entire system off balance.
Wow. So Manisha starts, meticulously combing through the sales order line by line, comparing it to the shipment details. That's when she spots the culprit.
Yeah.
A canceled line item on the sales order that was marked completed, even though it was never actually included in a shipment.
Oh, that completed checkbox. That's the key right there. It might seem insignificant, but it plays a really critical role in Acumatica's logic.
Okay, I'm all ears. Why would that little tiny checkbox cause such a big problem?
Well, by marking that canceled line as completed, the system essentially assumed that that item had been fulfilled and was ready for invoicing.
Okay.
Which in turn affected how Acumatica linked that data to the corresponding shipment.
Right.
Because the item wasn't actually on the shipment, it threw off that entire numbering sequence.
Yo.
And that triggered the data corruption error.
So it's all about maintaining that consistency in how Acumatica is tracking and linking the information between those two documents.
Exactly.
It's like a chain reaction,
Yep.
One tiny element is out of place and the whole thing falls apart.
It's a domino effect. One falls and they all go down.
Yeah.
And in this case, that seemingly harmless completed checkbox was the missing link. It was that domino.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
So how did she fix it?
Yeah, how did she fix it? Yeah, how did she fix it?
Yeah.
It really does highlight the importance of understanding how, those little actions, what those ripple effects are going to be in Acumatica. It's so interconnected.
Yeah.
You got to be thinking about, all these different data points that are all kind of talking to each other.
Yeah. So how did she fix this data corruption issue?
So the solution was actually surprisingly simple. But it did require that deep understanding of how the logic of the system works.
Okay.
She simply unchecked the completed box on that canceled line item in the sales order.
So by doing that, she basically reset the system's understanding of that line item.
Exactly. Unchecking that box restored that line number consistency between the sales order and the shipment. And it basically told Acumatica, hey, this line item is back in play and we need to account for it.
Gotcha.
The data corruption error vanished, and Manisha was then able to successfully edit the shipment to reflect what the customer wanted.
That's awesome. That's a really good illustration of, those nuances of Acumatica and how you need to be aware of them.
It really is.
Because otherwise you can run into some serious problems.
Yeah, and Acumatica is always evolving, right?
Right.
You always have to stay on top of your game. You got to keep learning.
Exactly.
You got to be aware of how all these different pieces fit together.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're out there wrestling with Acumatica and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, remember Manisha's story.
Okay.
Sometimes the solution is way simpler than you think, but it takes a keen eye for detail and a solid understanding of the system to kind of like unlock it.
Right. And, sometimes you just need a little bit of help.
Absolutely.
And that's where, a company like Tiana Solutions comes in.
For sure.
Because they've seen it all. They've dealt with all these different scenarios.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes you just need that little extra boost.
That extra set of eyes.
Exactly. To come in and look at your issue and go, oh, this is what's happening, and this is how to fix it. So if you're feeling like you're in over your head, don't be afraid to reach out to the experts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they've even given us a direct line so you can connect with them directly.
Oh, perfect. What's that?
It's 678-910-2774.
Awesome. So jot that down.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with Acumatica.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Acumatica has this secret language that you need to learn to really master the system.
Yeah, and it's not always clear, how those pieces fit together.
Right.
And sometimes it's those less visible connections that are causing the problems.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought that little checkbox would have caused such a big issue down the line?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really important to stay curious, as an Acumatica consultant.
Absolutely.
And keep learning and keep digging into the system.
Yeah.
To really understand how all these different pieces work together.
And don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Exactly. There's a great community out there of other Acumatica consultants. And a lot of times, somebody else has seen the problem that you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And they can point you in the right direction.
Yep. And Tiana Solutions is a great resource.
Yes.
For that kind of assistance.
For sure. So to all of our fellow Acumatica consultants out there, keep Manisha's story in mind.
Absolutely.
Don't underestimate the power of those little details.
Yeah, that's right.
And never hesitate to reach out to the community for support.
We're all in this together.
We are.